I've already run out of time, and probably all of us are hungry and or sleepy. So I'll quickly just go through this rest of the stuff. Just pictures so that you can probably carry it in your mind's eye. That image can be carried. In fact, one of the strategies that we use in Pattern Institute is to visualize things. Okay. So the thing is, we have this. This is what we are. We all are. I've written capitalize all around and a small I inside. Okay. So at the moment, just get that picture in. That's all. And what is really happening is that I is throwing up these thoughts, and that gets translated into actions. It gets translated into action. This is how we are. This is exactly the graphic notation of how each individual is. And what we are trying to do is to shape that thought. Shaping metacognition through these processes through which we can exploit neuroplasticity. And by developing selective attention, value tagging, magnetic desires, and harmony within us. Body, mind, and intellect harmony. I mean, I'm not going to go into those details. That is exactly what Pattern Institute is going to do and give training for youngsters, youth, as well as teenagers. Through developing the 7 cognitive functions. Saptarishikal. The Saptarishikal. The 7 cognitive functions: learning, thinking, reasoning, remembering, problem solving, decision making, and attention. These are the 7 cognitive capabilities of the brain. This is apart from the 70s and 60s. We were talking about the 7 intelligences, different 8 intelligences. Howard Gardner. Now, in the recent understanding of the brain has thrown open the functionalities that we need to be developed. So, in maybe the last 5 years. This is the patterns that have evolved out of those understanding of the human brain, and this is basically what we need to develop. And I call it as the 7. In fact, I know Professor will be able to, find that pattern and throw it to us, but not today. In any case, we don't. The 7 Saptarishikal in the Parnya Namalada 7th chapter references I feel is nothing but this. With the Saptarishis are within us. These capabilities, the powers of these rishis. These rishis can only come through rigorous practices. Rishi actually implies that somebody who has done this rigorous practices is a rishi. So, if we can go through rigorous practices by developing through these processes, then we become that rishi, and then we will be. And what are the things to be learned is something which we have been going through in the last couple of hours. And we can then develop the 4 different personalities within us: physical, emotional, intellectual, and the spiritual. The fundamental personalities within each one of us. And that's exactly what we are trying to do through the Pattern Institute. We try to do the fundamental attitudes to work and enrichment of values through the processes of understanding, reflecting on our challenges, developing renunciation, right attitudes, and integrating the aptitudes, developing supreme motivations, etc. In fact, if you look at it from here to up, the first chapter, as Professor was talking about, is about challenges, understanding the challenges. The challenges that we face, the failures and other things that we face. That's what exactly what he said, which is what is written, the basis of it. The chapter 1 becomes the basis of. In fact, a slight mapping of Bhagavad Gita also is there. The challenges. Work and life, and from there, supreme motivations, right attitudes, right aptitudes, renunciation, and reflection are the next patterns or process that we need to follow. These are the second chapter gives a summary of the whole of Bhagavad Gita, which defines the supreme motivations for us. The third chapter is Karma Yoga, right attitudes, right aptitudes, and knowledge is mentioned in the 4th chapter, Jnana Karma Yoga. The renunciation, karma sannyasam, and reflection, dhyana yoga. So you can actually see that there is a pattern. There is a pattern that is inherent in the way this whole thing is strung from chapter 1 to chapter 12, which is basically what we are trying to develop, enriching human values, and thereby developing a refined mindset which is about developing a universal perspective of and having the confidence in yourself about your infinite capabilities, and trying to see the pervasiveness of brilliance all around, and ultimately developing your multidimensional vision, leading to what is called as inspiration. In fact, that inspiration is basically, I think Professor also mentioned the term, I would call inspiration that rather than devotion. And that inspiration in doing things, inspiration in inspiring others, leadership inspiring others, etc., which is basically the second half of the middle part of the Bhagavad Gita, actually from chapter 7 to chapter 12. And ultimately, it is all about developing discriminative intelligence of various value systems, going down to nuts and bolts level for each one of them. We talk about Satyam, Dharmam, Shanti, Premam, Ahimsa, പല വാക്കുകൾ നമ്മൾ ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നു. പക്ഷെ how can you actually apply truth, Satyam, Dharmam, righteousness, peace, love and non-violence in our real world lives? We will actually sieve it out from our the things that we have to do in this world, and see how we can apply those values in each one of these things, and thereby convert these things into competencies within the work world. Work competencies of cognitive skills, leadership, initiative taking, followership, networking, connection, and self-management, perspectives, communication, teamwork, and knowledge. And this, in fact, we have split this up into 50 characteristics, which I think the youngsters, youth can actually, look at the nuts and bolts level, and then we will see, what is to be developed. And in fact, some of the yearly assessment tools have been developed based on all these things. And that's basically what we are trying to do through self-analytics program, converting the whole essence of patterns in the Bhagavad Gita into applicable this thing. And for that, we have different things. For young parents and teachers of junior schools from 3 to 12, the time when the neurons, the brain develops, as Dr. Krishnan was talking about, so we have some tools and strategies for that. And then we have for teenagers 12 to 20, when actually pruning takes place, a lot of things happen, and we should be able to control that pruning process. If we can control the pruning process, which is inevitable, then I think we have won the war, especially when dealing with teenagers. That teenagers development, the pruning, if you actually prune the things that are required ultimately in the outside world as behavior, then they will end up doing things that are that are a problem for the society. So the reverse. So pruning can be controlled through value systems and making them practice. And as the professor also mentioned about that, it is all about the parents behaving. It's not just talking. They have to show them by living, and that is basically what teaches the children. And it helps in not pruning what are the behaviors that are required. Then we have aspiring leaders, youth, and thought-powered professionals, 20 to 35, which is self-analytics, which is you can get all these brochures from the outside. I mean, we have separate brochures for this, what we cover in those things. And for a 35 plus also, we do have things like reflective sections, scientific, thought-oriented, rationally oriented treatment of these patterns of wisdom from our literature. Even there is one pattern that we can see from the structure of philosophical texts that we have, Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, and Itihasas. The fourth thing, you can actually see a transition from learning from by hearing, then Smriti, memorizing and reflection, and Puranas, case studies and stories, and Itihasas, real applications in the outside world. You can see the product development scenarios. You can actually translate. In fact, most of the product development scenarios translate this into action. And as Professor was mentioning, we had it for thousands of years, but somehow we did not, bring it out into that in that language of the 21st century or 20th century. So that's basically what. And at the moment, we also have. I would request you to wait for a few more minutes, where we will certify some of our students here. Quickly we'll do that, and then you can also have some food, which is you can wait for that and have some food from our we have arranged some food also. And those of you who are not in a rush can also have partake of food and then go. But before that, let us do the certification. Please encourage them. I have a couple of those people also telling us their experiences in a few sentences.